Good evening. As pressure continues to mount on Ugandan security agencies over the use of torture, the heat has been caught by Uganda's parliament, where this week a motion to censure the security minister for inaction on torture fell flat. It wasn't, however, without drama. The opposition managed 88 signatures for the motion, which fell short of the requisite 176 signatures, which is a third of parliament. With the motion out of the way, the only lasting action that Parliament now remains with is Human Rights Commission of Inquiry into alleged incidences of torture. But is this enough? Tonight on the spot, we host the Honorable Anthony Akol and Dr. Batua Timothy Lusaala. Timothy and Anthony, thank you so much, gentlemen, for having honored our invitation. A warm welcome to both of you, gentlemen.
Yeah, thank you very much for having us here. It's our pleasure to be here with you on this program.
You're most welcome, Anthony.
Well, thank you very much, Patrick, for our invitation. But above all, let me also thank the viewer, wherever they are, because we could be talking here if they're not doing us, it's a problem. So let me thank them also.
Let me begin with you, Honorable Anthony. You are an elected member of Parliament, a people's representative, elected to serve. Ugandans have been tortured left, right, and center. You as MPs, with all respect, have been standing by to watch and let it happen. Why?
Well, Patrick, if you're talking about torture in Uganda, I think I'm a victim. And especially coming from the Acholi sub-region, I grew up looking at what government were doing to the people, the citizens of Uganda. I'll give you an example. I lost two of my brothers during Amin's regime. During the time when President Museveni came from the bush, two of my brothers were seriously tortured. That time they used what they call kandoa. They tie you behind, they hang you on the mango tree, and they beat you as they're watching. I was personally arrested when I was going to school. We were beaten. Then we came to LRA war, the Lord Registered Army period. I lost two of my people. My sister, our last born, was killed during LRA. And when the IDP came, again my brother was killed. And many people that I know are close to me, even up to now, they're nowhere to be seen. They were abducted, the children. Then when you now see what happened during this period, before I came in Parliament of Uganda, and even when I was in Parliament of Uganda, you will very well remember that when the Kamwenge mayor was tortured, to inform you that Parliament did not keep quiet. I was in the Committee of Human Rights, and I was part of the people who went to Nalufenya. If you recall very well, I wrote a minority report. Because at the time when we went there and we saw with our own eyes what happened there, they hid all the people. The people who were tortured, you cannot see them.
Let me say this. First of all, it's very regrettable what happened to you and your members of your family members. Yeah. The preamble you've just given us
and this is
very regrettable.
Yeah.
And I feel for you, Honorable Anthony. But now you're a member of Parliament, elected by the people. Does that make you feel like the Parliament in where you sit cannot bite?
I am now coming out to issues that I'm trying to raise to you. We went on in Nalufenya. Actually, the people who were tortured were hidden. The only skill that I used, because I worked in the hospital before, when we went, I asked them, where is the clinic? You cannot have prisoners here and you don't treat them. They took us to where the prison section, the clinic section is, on removing the book, the record book in that section. That's when you see all sorts of torture. Those who have wound on the head, the leg, the what, we started asking, you treated these people in the morning, where are they? We were doing the investigation. And even today or tomorrow, we still have the Committee of Human Rights of Parliament who are really trying their best to do the work. But the problem we have in this country is that Parliament sometimes gives recommendation of what should be done. The real action should be done by the executive. But at the end of the day, those who have been given responsibility to take care of the citizen of Uganda in terms of their rights, you know, when you go to the Constitution of the Republic of Uganda, you look at the whole of Chapter 4 is about human rights violation. And that proves to you that the history of Uganda was actually from a bad background. And it is regrettable that we are not actually implementing what is on the Constitution of the Republic of Uganda. So, to answer your issue, Parliament has been doing a lot of work. First of all, for this Constitution of the Republic of Uganda, it came through Parliament.
Do you get a sense that incidences of torture are actually increasing, even though you're telling me you have been doing a lot of work?
I totally agree with you. During election, I was one of the victims. I was badly tortured, together with my party president, Patrick Oboya Moriat, in my constituency in Pabo. I agree with you. The situation is getting worse, and this call for the executive to check. Because if you go back how the NRM went to the bush, they were going because of these things that they are doing today. So they must make a difference now.
Dr. Lusaala,
Yes.
Let me quote for you. Somebody wrote, the only necessary thing for the triumph of evil is for the good men to do nothing. In fact, Albert Einstein once said, the world is a dangerous place, not because of those who do evil, but because of those who look on and do nothing. You have not done something for the people of Uganda as the parliament where you sit, with all respect.
Yeah, well, I should say that I associate with that statement. I'm equally disappointed with my fellow members of parliament, especially those who didn't sign. Uganda is such a very beautiful country that has a history that is so painful. For the wars we've been through, none of the countries around us has gone through that, less for Congo and maybe South Sudan. But the onus is on us to now pave a very good path that secures the future of our children and those who will come. In Parliament, just recently, we had an opportunity. First and foremost, when you look at the three arms of government, when you look at the executive, the president has been seen on TV condemning torture. He's made statements that are against torture. He elaborated that not even one who is guilty or who is taken up for a certain kind of crime should be tortured. Not even the political cases should be tortured. We've seen the judiciary coming up with a legal framework that is really against torture. Any evidence that is attached with torture is dismissible. And as such, the case will be dismissed. Is non-admissible. And as such, the case will be dismissed. So it's us in Parliament who have failed to come out strong on torture. This was an opportunity. First and foremost, we've made so many statements.
So actually, Dr. Timothy, you are admitting before the people of Uganda that you, as Parliament, have actually failed the people of Uganda on the issue of torture.
Actually, I'm encouraging the people of Uganda to look at the list of the members of Parliament who signed the petition and question those who have not signed the petition. I've seen Muslim leaders of the
faith organizations.
Yeah, the faith organizations coming out strong against torture. And I know back in their minds they would think that to have a voice, you need to have numbers in Parliament. How many of those members of Parliament appended their signature on the petition?
It was only 88 of you.
We have, yeah, I'm trying to build up numbers. You know, for us in the opposition, we had come up with that strategy after failing on statements, after failing on parliamentary motions. So we thought that now we should make a statement on torture by way of censuring the Minister of Security. So that's how we come up with a petition. But we are disappointed that people who ought to have joined us didn't join us. We've seen cases of torture on the lake. Fishermen doing their activities. As a way of discouraging them from doing what they are doing, they are being tortured. Some are getting killed, boats destroyed, homes destroyed. You get it. So we expect members of parliament from such communities to append signatures. Now, when they do not append, do those people still have a voice in parliament? That's what we want the public to audit. So the public should look at this list and they start questioning their respective members of parliament who have not come out strong on the issue of torture.
Honorable Anthony Akol, you are a leader. When the people of Pabor, and the people of Jinja, and the people of Kyenjojo, where I come from, when they are agonizing, you as a leader, you should be organizing. So what should we expect from elected leaders like you now that the censure motion has fallen flat?
Number one, I don't agree that Parliament has failed in the fight against torture in the country. Because the matter that we are talking about is before the Committee of Human Rights. It has been referred from the Parliament to the Committee of Human Rights. The fact that maybe the censure motion failed, we cannot say that Parliament has failed Ugandans. I think that is wrong. The fight must continue. But the problem comes in here, which I think I need to put it very clear. You see, when you want to put the fight that it is opposition versus NRM, that's where the problem comes in. When, before, I read when Jim Moise was censored the other time, even NRM signed. Those were at the other side. In this case, you will never see even one person who signed. I think a mistake was made of walking out then planning to bring in the motion for censoring. If the process was to lobby the members of parliament from all sides to look at human rights violation without the issue of party, that we are in ruling party, we are in opposition, if we leave this issue a non-partition without talking about NRM, opposition, or which party, that is when we are going to succeed as a country.
How are you going to be able to persuade members of the NRM when you people in the opposition are in disarray?
That's why I'm saying, for me, I caution the leadership of opposition that if you are bringing such an issue, first don't make it opposition program, because you lose it. And that's where the problem came from. We as opposition, we are leaving the house, we are walking out. And then later on, we want to censor. Please, you have to strategize and make sure that you make it something inclusive for everybody to know that we are all candidates of torture. There are many Ugandans who thought that they are not going to be tortured, but you find yourself in it. I want to bring the issue. I'll give you an example. When the former Prime Minister brought in and was fighting for Public Management Act to come up and all that, Amama Babazi, Patrick, you know what happened to him? When he came now, he wanted to campaign, the law was used on him. And therefore, for me, if I have the opportunity, which I have, but I'm not in leadership, when you want to bring this kind of motion to censor maybe the minister in charge of security of Ugandans, that means he is supposed to safeguard the lives of the people and their property, make it non-partition. If you make it that we are walking out, we are coming out, when we are coming back, we want to censor this and that, now you lose it. It becomes, divided. And that's the problem.
Both of you gentlemen are from the opposition.
Correct.
And somehow you're saying you have failed, and somehow you think the strategy and the tactics were wrong. Ugandans are watching, and the NRM members of parliament, your colleagues, are having a cup of coffee right now, and they're saying, look at them.
And that's where the problem comes in.
Yeah, maybe I should draw a line.
Because a person who is in NRM, who is thinking that opposition has failed now, you are going to be the next victim. I'm telling you, this should be non-partition. You should not think that I am in NRM, so I will not be tortured. No, you are a candidate. It is like when you see somebody who is disabled, then you begin to laugh at the person. When at any time, you can even get accident or anything, you become disabled.
And be worse.
Yes. So we have to take care of this.
Don't you have any kind of leverage as parliament? Because parliament, really, it is the power of persuasion. It's the power of argument. It's the power, the one who puts up across a good argument wins the day. That's what I know.
Yeah, precisely.
So did you fail in convincing the colleagues across the aisle to see Uganda from your own prism?
I don't think it was about persuading or convincing colleagues. This was a common issue that touches the people we represent in Parliament. Not very long ago, I saw how a journalist was beaten in public during some protests.
Jimmy Akena.
Yes. So I do not have to convince a member of Parliament with a journalism background to really get into this motion, to really sign the petition. So this is the perception we had. This is how we came on table. That this time around, we are coming up with an issue that really brings all of us together. Not so long ago, the Committee of Defense went to some part of Uganda to settle issues or to investigate issues, to acquaint itself with issues to do with security. They waited for the minister never turned up. They came back to Parliament very angry, and they were speaking the same language. They wanted to censure the minister. They've summoned the minister never turned up. So we thought that this is an opportunity. This is an issue that cuts across all of us, all members of Parliament, and it's the reason why I interest the public to audit the list. Your voters from a particular part of the country, you have cases of torture, and you've been thinking that you have a voice in Parliament. Try to find out whether your area member of Parliament, appended the signature. If he didn't, then how will his silence really solve issues? So you
leaders are equally frustrated.
Yes.
The people you lead, some of them have been tortured. In fact, what you're telling us, Honorable Anthony Akol, we are on our own. We are on our own.
Mine is even worse. I have been struggling with the issue of torture of my people in Apa. As I talk with you, 7 people are nowhere to be seen. They are arrested by the people who came in the uniform of the police, in the uniform of the UPDF. They are nowhere to be seen. Their relatives are moving around. They want to find out where they are. They can't find them. And then the unconfirmed order is that they are under instruction from retired General Moseli to go and arrest people and beat them. Now, you look at what we are going through, and you wonder, on the floor of Parliament, on the 8th of August last year, the minister in charge of security, retired General Jim Mwezi, was ordered by the deputy speaker, and the speaker, who was presiding officer then, that he must go on the ground and find out what exactly has happened in Apa and what is happening. From August last year, he did not even cross the area until 4 people were killed. When they were clashed, the 2 people were now fighting, the 2 communities, on the 18th and 19th of January. Now you look at all this, and that's why I told you, no, I don't need a lecture about torture. I have gone through it personally. Our people have gone through it. We are still going through this problem up to now. And I think, to me, I cannot say that Parliament has failed, because even now, Parliament has sent, there's going to be a select committee of Parliament to go and handle the issue. So that means Parliament is trying its best. My concern is, you see, people who are supposed to protect the people, the executive arm is the one, they are the one in charge of the police, of the UPDF. They are the one failing Ugandans. And it is worst. If we are suffering in the hands of rebels, at least you understand. Like what I told you, the LRA. There we begin to ask government, your work is to protect the citizen and their property. Why are you not fighting the rebels away? Now, after fighting the rebels away, we are now suffering in the hands of the government forces. That's a problem.
There is another issue, Honorable Dr. Timothy.
Before the issue, I also wanted an opportunity to restore hope, to the citizens. That first and foremost, we've got a very able team of legislators, most especially on our side, the opposition. We intend to sit and see and forge a way forward. So there is still room to work out something to continue the fight against torture. We've not yet given up. This struggle that we've just emerged out of has exposed some of our colleagues, most especially those who didn't sign. But there are techniques that we are about to come out. I could suggest one or two, but I know that the list could be longer. First and foremost, there are conventions that Uganda as a government has not ratified to. There is a convention that is to the protection of enforceable disappearance. Then there are optional protocols that are on torture. As we speak now, Uganda has not even ratified the protocol, the optional protocol that allows the commission, the Human Rights Commission, to visit some of these places, torture places. So, there are some optional protocols that we shall now start to push government to ratify, such that, we get out of this. Uganda is a very beautiful country, and we should do something now that we are the leaders of today.
Timothy,
so don't lose hope.
Timothy and Anthony, hold on to your points because you're going to take a break, and on the spot, we'll be right back. Welcome back. You're watching On the Spot. My name is Patrick Amar. My guests this evening are Honorable Anthony Akol and Honorable Timothy Patura Lusaala. And we're discussing the bad vice in our country, and that is torture. Parliament has tried to stamp it out, but it appears they are really finding a lot of challenges. What next? We know, for example, Timothy, that there are places, illegal places of detention, ungazetted places of detention, and people have been held there for days. And the stories they come out telling us are gory. Isn't there a way how Parliament can actually ask to actually visit some of these places? Because there could be many, there could be new. As we speak right now, somebody is in a safe house, probably he's being tortured, either physically or mentally, and the situation is bad for them. And maybe you do not know, but you can use your ingenuity to find out where these places are and ask the Minister for Security to take you there, just to shed a light on what is going on, can actually maybe give us relief or give the person in jail that kind of relief.
Yeah, but the situation we are in right now, as I've just said earlier on, that we even have a situation of a parliamentary committee summoning a Minister of Security, and the Minister of Security not heeding to the summon, not even appearing. So, we've been weakened. We've been weakened, and we have to fight for our space. That is what we are doing in the opposition, under the guidance of our leader of opposition. We are fighting for that space. We are protecting our space. We can't allow to be squeezed in that corner the way the situation is. I do remember somewhere in the 10th Parliament, I think Honorable Akol could be privy to that information, when members of Parliament wanted to visit some of these places, and at the time, maybe I could be put right, it was Honorable Tumwine, the general, I think was the Minister of Security at that time. And there is a way government played the issue. So this is what we are talking about, that we have to push government to sign, to ratify certain conventions and protocols, such that there is power for us to get in. As we speak now, unless one of the officials at the Human Rights Commission, makes it right, even the Human Rights Commission can't access.
Okay, hold on your point here, because I want to bring in a man who has suffered in a detention, and an ungazetted place of detention. I think his was more of mentor or some kind of torture, but not physical. If you can hear me, Mr. Richard Jobs Matua, can you hear me? Richard, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
All right. Just first of all, I want your experience, because at least I know you. At least at one point, I knew you were not in circulation. For almost 38 days, I couldn't know where you are. And when you came out, the story that you're talking about was a story of incarceration. What was the story for the rest of Uganda to know?
Yes. Well, my brother.
Yes.
I think the debate should be objectively focused. in my view, the root cause of what you are discussing in the studio now is the detention of suspects in ungazetted locations, not accessible to Uganda Human Rights Commission, not accessible to members of parliament, especially the committee in charge of human rights. Then arrest of suspects by security officers who are not identified. I think this is the cause that could lead to now the actions like torture, which cannot be traced. So the two illegalities of detention of suspects in ungazetted places beyond the constitutional time limit of 48 hours, and then arrest of suspects by unidentified security officers are the primary causes leading to various peripheral effects like torture, like whose tracing cannot be done. So my view is that the parliament should assert its authority and force the executive to ensure that in a country like ours, where we have authority in place, security officers going to arrest people must dress in an identified uniform. We should know that this person has been arrested by police, and if that person comes out limping, then we must task that body to explain where the person got the injury from. But
Rich Jobs, we have seen people in the Ugandan uniform, military police, on camera, torturing Ugandans.
Yes.
Torturing Ugandans.
Yes. Come again?
We have seen men and women in Ugandan uniform, military or police, torturing Ugandans.
Your line is breaking.
Okay, if you can hear me, I understand at one point, Jobs, you were a guest in one of these safe houses. What's your story?
Yes. Hello?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I'm hearing you very well.
I understand at one point you are a guest in some of these safe houses. What is your story?
Yes, I was arrested on the 5th of December 2021, and I came out on the 22nd of December. Then on 24th I was returned back. Then I came out again on 15th of January. So now you can imagine detention of somebody beyond the 24 hours, no, 48 hours given in the Constitution is an illegality. So there are people detained in those ungazetted places beyond the time limit. What I can say is that it is very important that the state or anybody that tries to enforce the law should enforce the law within the law, not outside the law. For example, if I have made a mistake, I am liable to arrest, and after the 48 hours of detention in a gazetted place, I should be produced before competent court of law and judged formally. So we have people who are detained in ungazetted places. Some have even completed a year without even recording a statement.
Okay. You have made your point, Jobs. Thank you so much, Mr. Matura. You have made your point. Okay. Here is one of those Ugandans who served his time in a gazetted place through the Christmas period and then later in January. And he's telling you, at least if only he was taken by the people that can be identified, if only he was taken in a gazetted place, if only he was charged within 48 hours, as the law says, so that, you know, the law seems to be working. You are the lawmakers.
Yeah, true.
And you have got some leverage because these institutions, agencies and departments of government come to you every year to appropriate funds to them. You can deny them funds until things are put right.
True.
That's what you could do, Dr. Timothy.
Yeah, true. Yeah, as Adalia Ron said, that this is what we've just done is one of the many options. and that we in the opposition are much more familiar with the opposition. Parliament has two sides mainly, the party in government and the opposition. Those in independent are largely taken to be opposition because they are not in government, so they should give reason as to why they were not in government and decided to be independent. So in certain way, we oppose, but we oppose differently. So we are going to get on the drawing board and craft another strategy on how we can push really for some of these interventions. I should say that the previous parliament could have made some success on torture. Nalufenya was previously a police post. Over time it became a torture center. But activities of the last parliament turned Nalufenya back to a police post. As we speak now, Nalufenya is largely a police post because at least it's in my constituency. So I do believe that this parliament can be guided to achieve more along intervening torture. So I think we need time so that our leaders shape us and we identify a path to take so the public will get aware of our next course of action.
All right, Honorable Akol, this what you intended to do with the censure has been a tactical failure. But do you have a strategy? I suppose you have a strategy, long term, so that you can have a comeback. Are you hopeful and optimistic that if the tactic has failed, maybe you'll have a strategy that will work, given the numbers that are really not in your favor?
Patrick, number one, when you go to the Constitution of the Republic of Uganda, Article 24 is very strong on issue of torture, inhuman treatment. It is very clear. And as he was telling you in the 10th Parliament, it was a joint effort of the opposition and the government side, and was strong on issue of torture in the country. That is why, when there was this issue of the mayor of Kamenge, that's why I was telling you, you should not think that I'm in opposition or in NRM, because the mayor was an NRM person, and he was tortured. It was Parliament that went and rescued the man, and that's why he was now taken to what? To court. When my colleague Honorable Chagulanyi was tortured in Arua, it was Parliament that set a team, and the team went to Gulu. I was part of it. We rescued him from Gulu barracks. It was headed by a chairperson who is NRM. If we want to succeed in this fight,
you have to work together.
We have to work together. If you want to take it upon you that this is opposition success that we are doing this, you're not going to succeed. And that fight needs to bring together even the head of institution of Parliament. But as I talk with you now, the institution of Parliament is weakening because there is a fight on the head of institution. On the speaker, people are demonstrating where he's sick. In Parliament, people are going on social media abusing the deputy speaker. In that way, you cannot succeed. We have to make it known that this is fight for Ugandans, irrespective of the party you belong to. You have to support it. That is when you will get support from both sides. You will get support from the speaker. But I'm telling you, we have not lost it. I told you, of recent, even the deputy speaker, who is now the speaker heading the House now, has sent the issue about torture in the Committee of Human Rights. And we'll wait for the report to come.
But the Committee of Human Rights, the Uganda Human Rights Commission, every year issues a report about the situation of human rights in Uganda. And you can see the violations are coming from, the culprits are the same. Sometimes I joke that maybe they have a template that from the 2017 who looks like 2019 and 2020, because the people who are accused of committing acts of torture are police, the military, and in that order. They even issue recommendations on what needs to be done. That has been the case for the last maybe 10 years. If an agency or department of government is telling them there's a problem here, they are even giving recommendations, So what can a committee of parliament do on human rights?
I'm also left wondering. However, I do think, because what has happened, much as we've not succeeded, but I think there is a message that the Minister of Security has made out of whatever has happened, or, you know, has made out of the petition. And, you know, the intention and spirit of the petition was to make the minister prevail over the security dockets that are actually disseminating torture to Ugandans. So much as we've not succeeded in censuring the minister, I do believe that we have a different minister, one who has been beaten. I do not think that it's going to be business as usual. I actually want to watch the minister for these 2, 3, 4 weeks and see whether there will be a change. I want to see when the Human Rights Committee in Parliament, when it summons the Minister of Security, I want to see whether he will turn up, because that has not been the case. So you know, I'm observing the changes. So whatever has not been observed, you know, in the petition, we shall get results that are implied. So I do think that there will be a change.
I don't know why you are so optimistic. You have that hope that things are going to change. You must be a very optimistic man, considering the background you have given, what Honorable Akol has gone through as a young man, and even when he's a member of parliament. Where do you get that hope from, that in the next 2, 3 weeks you're going to see a change in the situation?
Yeah, first and foremost, we are challenged as parliament. And as parliament, we have a leadership. I do believe that after whatever has happened, maybe the speaker would want to come out and prevail and show that actually we can end torture through A, B, C, D, E. You get it. If it was a thing of political parties, that maybe the opposition could prevail over the party in government, maybe the government chief whip has a plan to prevail after this has happened, because the fact is there is anguish among Ugandans. They had hope in what we had started, and they are seeing it laying flat. So there is anguish, and that has to be addressed. I do not think that the administration of parliament will stay the same. You know, seeing Ugandans with the kind of anguish they have, I do not think that the party in government will stay the same. I do not even think cabinet will stay the same. And, you know, this prompts the president, you know, into making some inquiries in the security docket. You get it. So, you know, it's like a child crying in the backyard. There is some impression it creates to the parent, much as maybe you're responding or you've not responded. So there will be some implied actions that are going to follow whatever we've done.
Honorable Akol, do you believe perhaps as members of opposition, you have lacked in the power of persuasion to your friends, you have lacked in the presentation of your case, you have lacked, you know, to convince them that to see the situation the way how you see it? Because I believe if you have a point, and if you're gifted enough and you can articulate it enough, people will be able to see some of the things, though you're saying that you don't want to explain because they're in the open. Sometimes it's how you have presented your case. Has there been some kind of a wobbly presentation of what the issue is so that they can buy your idea?
To me, I'm looking at two angles. Number one, when Parliament will do everything in terms of the Committee of Human Rights, in terms of what comes from the Human Rights Commission, at the end of the day, you need to do what we call the real, you know, execution of the decision of Parliament. And that must be done by the executive arm. So there is no political will to take it over, because some of this is done by the people in government, and therefore it becomes difficult. But we also have a law that will hold somebody personally responsible for torture. And these are areas that need to be strengthened. And that's why I am insisting that Parliament has done everything necessary. So to say Parliament has failed is not right. To the extent that there is a law that will hold you personally responsible in terms of maybe taking only Attorney General, and the person who has taken up the action is left away. No. In this case, you are taken personally, and even the Attorney General can be sued. So the political will is one of the issues. Number two, we can only work as Parliament if we stop politicizing this issue of torture. Let's bring all sides on board and then handle it the way I'm giving you example what was happening in the 10th Parliament, whereby when you are presenting the issue, you don't say, for us on this side, no.
So, okay.
As Ugandans, people are crying and looking onto us as members of Parliament who were elected, and this is a duty we have to offer Ugandans.
So
that's the difference.
I think you're bringing something important.
To me, I want to advise my colleagues in opposition. If we want to succeed on this issue of torture, let's leave it to be the issue of opposition. Let's bring all members of Parliament from both sides on board. Go and have time with the government chief whip. Talk to him. Go and have time with those who are in commission, the NRM. This is the issue in Uganda. Today it is me. Today is my relative. Oh, he's somebody in opposition. Tomorrow it will be you. The example I've given you how the mayor of Kamenge, who was real NRM, was tortured. So this is the way to go. And that's how we are going to succeed.
You know, you've talked about something I think important. Holding those responsible, personally responsible for the crimes that have been committed. I think that's vicarious liability.
Yeah.
Holding, isn't that, maybe that could help. Because if the law is there, identify officer so-and-so.
Yes.
And then you sue them and then let them pay for the crimes committed.
Yes.
And then maybe they can fear because they know it's not now the Attorney General of the government of Uganda that's going to pay. They will pay and they'll feel the pain.
Yeah, that's exactly what we are thinking about, and that's what we know. But it is the Minister of Security to prevail over that, to commission maybe some form of investigation to put his house right. And, we are prompted by his failure to do that. And that's why we are doing what we are doing, because in Parliament we can't investigate. We do not have those powers of investigating. We do not have many other powers of doing what we could do. So we are using the powers that we have.
Has the judiciary also failed you?
Actually, personally, the way I see the judiciary, I think
because
it has fought its fight on torture. That legal framework of rendering evidence inadmissible if it is aligned to torture, that is enough in its own way. You get it. You torture somebody, you can't, present a case in court. It will be dismissed. So I think they've protected themselves that way. And then, it's as Parliament, most especially when we fail to petition, to censure the minister. When we fail to succeed in that, we fail to send a strong message. Parliament ideally is a voice of the people. We are a voice of those who are under torture, those who depend on people who have been tortured, those who are relatives of people who have been tortured, and those who have never had any effect of torture. And it's very difficult to drive a point to do with torture to someone who has never been in any circumstance to do with torture. They will always take it as something alien. They will not feel it. They will not get it at heart. And they will look out for, some of the aspects that my honorable colleague has been saying, that, we should reach consensus, we should come together, it should not be an issue of the opposition or what. Torture in its way, opposition, not opposition, can't even arise. And how these issues are addressed as opposition or addressed as NRM or independent, it depends on the person who is at the forefront, the person who has come up with it. And the reason why opposition picks up an issue and brings it on the floor of Parliament, it's because government has neglected. Government has done nothing. So you come in with alternative policies. So when somebody from the opposition brings up an issue, they will take it to be an opposition issue. And of course, as people of like minds, you support that issue wholeheartedly. You can even see the numbers.
So when you stage these walkouts, Akol, sometimes you go out and then sometimes, really, have they benefited? What tangible benefit have we seen from these walkouts?
No, I think it's a build-up.
Because sometimes you walk out and put on the T-shirts as if, with all respect, you're playing for the gallery.
No,
what do you get out of this?
It was a build-up towards a certain outcome. We started with making just simple statements on the floor of Parliament addressing torture. From statements we went to motion, because a motion seeks a decision from Parliament,
yes.
Parliament to take a collective decision. All that failed. So from that we went to protests. We decided to walk out. We protested by way of walking out. Now from protest we pushed it ahead. We went for censure. And that's why I'm saying that we've not relented. We shall go further.
You know, you have walked out, they ignored. You have brought a sense of motion, it has failed. Really, your steps that you have taken have fallen flat. And I do not see any long-term strategy, Honorable Akol, with all respect, that is going to work in this kind of environment. I still think that we, the people, are on our own.
I consulted my party president when the issue of walkout came about. Not only that, in the 10th Parliament we tried that method of walking out, and it wasn't working. Because you walk out, you give opportunity for those who are inside to continue with what? The debate. And they make decisions which are binding. It will also bind you who is outside the house. A case in point, there were 2 bills which were passed in the absence of the opposition in the House when we were out. So in the 10th Parliament, what we did under leadership of Winnie Kiza, former leader of opposition, Honorable Winnie Kiza, we agreed in a meeting and we said, if we don't agree with them, we are not going to walk out. But we'll make sure that we interrupt the debate in the House using rule of procedure, Constitution of the Republic of Uganda, any other legal document around, so that there should be no debate until the House is closed. And I think you knew what happened during amendment of the Constitution on age limit. We made it difficult within the rule of procedure, within the Constitution of Uganda, to the extent that you cannot continue with the business in the House until they decided that these people should be suspended from the House. I totally don't disagree with them for walking out, because I didn't walk out. I consulted my party president on issues I have, and I was in the House. Even I participated in the debate on the oil what? Bill. I mean, a mineral bill, which was in the House. So to me, I think this should be a signal that next time we should not walk out of the House. The other way we could have said that, Right Honorable Speaker, we want to inform you that there should be no business in the House until the issue of torture is addressed. This is a national issue. It is not issue of opposition. Therefore, as Parliament, we should talk one voice and say no business in Parliament until this issue of torture is addressed. Where are these people? If they are dead, where are their bodies? If they are hidden somewhere, why don't you produce them in court? And then you make sure there is no business in the House.
Okay.
But I think
that would have been the best.
Those are statements Honorable Mpuga made for, over so many sittings. Demanded for that, demanded for this, and they were not yielding to anything.
All right, Honorable Anthony and Honorable Timothy, hold on to your points, gentlemen, because we're going to take a break, and when we come back, we shall open the line so that you too can be a part of this discussion. You're going to see the numbers on the line. Pick your phone and call us, and if you have a question that directed to any of the guests tonight, say so. And should you be in disagreement, that's okay. It's called debate, but disagree with respect. We shall be right back. Welcome back. You're watching On the Spot. My name is Patrick Amara. My guests tonight are Honorable Anthony Akol and Honorable Timothy Lusaala. And we're discussing the incidences of torture that are increasing in Uganda. Honorable Akol, I was thinking, you also have another leverage. You, as Parliament, vet nominees that have been appointed to take positions of leadership, ministerial and otherwise. You could also maybe take your time and see who is going to be given the mandate to be a leader or not. And I think some of those steps, if you use it effectively, you can actually weed out people who are not going to serve Uganda. But if they come and then you vet them and pass them, and if they turn out not to be good, then you are to blame.
Well, as a person, I have never sat in the committee that vets the people who are appointed by the president. But I would think that is also another approach. I think in the 11th parliament they tried, especially on the issue of corruption. There was one minister who was first sent out. I don't know how she was again cleared later on. And I think if we put more effort, for example, a person like retired General Jim Wezi, if he's appointed next time, we would say no. He doesn't deliver. He failed to deliver in the Ministry of Security. He did not take security of Ugandan seriously. That is part of the avenue that we can use. But at a time when people are appointed, there are key issues that are looked into, and part of it is record of somebody in terms of the performance before. So I would also think that that is another approach that can be done. But the point I've been emphasizing, the issue that Parliament has failed is not correct.
Okay, hold on to your point, because we have a caller online, and I want them to start telling us what they think. Hello?
Yes,
yes, what's your name and where are you calling from?
I'm Byamukama Vincent. I'm calling in Hoima.
Byamukama in Hoima, you're loud and clear. Go right ahead and tell us what you think tonight.
I am Nyankore, but I don't know Zungu.
Okay, I have a fair knowledge of Runyankore. Maybe I can translate, but I don't want to go that way, because how will I deny if somebody calls and I don't know that language?
Okay.
It will not be fair. So maybe you try as much as possible to say what you can in the English that you know. After all, it's not our language, all of us. Mr. Byamukama, the floor is yours.
Okay. Byamukama Vincent. There is a one who torture in a prison in Rukungiri.
Okay.
So the OC prison, they command the soldiers torture me.
You are tortured in Rukunjiri?
In Rukungiri prison.
Okay.
I am going with human rights to report this case. 007-219. So the human rights they were going to court. I don't know what's going on. Now it's 2 years.
You are tortured in Rukunjiri, and in the prisons in Rukunjiri, you have gone to Human Rights Office for 2 years, you have not gotten justice. Mr. Byamukama from Hoima, thank you so much for calling. Okay. Okay, we're going to take more calls of you, and we've just had 2 people there with the testimony of torture. Byamukama and earlier we had Matua. I have another call online. Let me get to know what your name is and where you're calling from. Hello. Hello.
Hello.
Yes, what's your name and where are you calling from?
I'm calling from
Could you say that again?
Hello?
Can you say that again? Okay, I'm having trouble to hear you very well, sir, and for that matter, apologies, because I'm dropping that line. You know, a gentleman calling from Hoima. Yes, sir, what's your name and where are you calling from?
I'm calling from Jengera.
If you are from Chengera, tell us your story. And what do you have to say?
I'm sorry, I was working in that statue morning hours.
Okay.
I was half millions and my phone.
Okay.
But the police officers, they have masks. When somebody has a mask, you don't know that face.
Okay.
The officer took my money, my phone, they slapped me. I tried to go to police to report, but the police officer told me, you know, younger boy, you can go back to your home. because that issue, you are reporting officers, they can kill you, they can shoot you. So, also me, I just save my life, I go back home.
Oh dear.
So, because I love my life.
We all do, I suppose, love our lives, don't we? Thank you for your contribution, and I feel for you what happened, and all of you now are telling us you have been mistreated by people who are identified as police officers in uniform, as opposed to what we earlier had, that some people are being tortured by unidentified Ugandans. I have another call online. Hello.
Hello, yes, Patrick.
What's your name, sir, and where are you calling from? Hello?
Yes, hello.
Yes, tell us your name and where you're calling from, and go straight ahead, make your submission.
I'm Martin.
Okay.
From Kawempe.
From Kawempe.
Yes, sir.
All right, go ahead.
But what is annoying me is that parliament, the way they are handling the issues. The issue of censoring this general West and Honorable Zake. Instead of instead they are supposed to be talking about human rights, the way they are torturing people, there are other things that cannot matter. So those MPs, they should actually put us a voice. Like we, the people who are the low levels, so that they can try to talk about issues that matter.
So the issue of torturing Ugandans does not matter. That's what you think? Okay. We have preferences, and that caller from Kawempe thinks. We have another caller online, and hello. What's your name and where are you calling from? Hello.
My name is Tumuna.
Yes, Tumina, you're on air. Go right ahead.
And I'm calling from Juba, South Sudan.
You're calling from Juba, South Sudan.
Yes.
Okay, go right ahead.
Now, my question to those gentlemen is, how the legislature of Ugandan say that? How the legislature, how the parliament in general say that? Because we expect them to raise the issue of torture. Ugandans are being tortured. And the parties that are supposed to take charge of that, I don't know who they are serving. Who does the human rights, the Ugandan human rights serve in our country? And then our parliamentarians, instead of attempting to solve the cases of torture and rising up as one whole, because when it comes to torture, there's no one going to be tortured under government, and then there's no one going to be tortured under the opposition. Torture is torture. No?
Tumine calling in from South Sudan in Juba. Thank you so much. I understand many of you would want to make contributions. You're calling the line, but I think I have to come back to the guests here in the studio so that they can respond to some of the issues you have raised this evening. Let me begin with you, Honorable Timothy.
Yeah, when you look at our mandate, first and foremost, we legislate. I do not think that there is abundant need to legislate on torture. The law available is enough. We represent, and we've precisely done that. We've picked information from the people we represent, information in regard to torture, and we're now bringing it to Parliament to address it at that level. Now, where we are being failed is in oversight. We've tried to exercise oversight on the relevant ministries, specifically the Ministry of Security, and it's exactly what we've been doing. Unfortunately, the gentleman who called the gentleman who called earlier on, he was like, he perceives it as though we straight away went for the censure motion. We had no prior discussions. That parliamentary procedure is hidden from the public. They do not normally get to know the business that is on the floor of Parliament. But I want to assure you that in between when we started and now when we moved in for the censure, a lot has been done. If it is talking, a lot of talking has been done. Motions have been written, pleas have been done, speaking softly, persuasions, all has been done, but it wasn't yielding, and that is why we've progressed here. So, as per our mandate, it is the oversight that is being challenged. But as I've said, we are unrelenting. We are getting back on our drawing table, and we craft more tactics to make sure that we exercise our oversight. Maybe I should also mention that among the things that the leader of opposition guided us in this issue are books that each and every member of parliament should take to his or her constituency, such that cases of torture start getting registered in that book. And it's from that point that investigations and the subsequent prosecution will take place. So be assured that we are not going to lose our oversight role in this issue of torture.
Honorable Akol, what do you make of some of these calls, considering that we are hearing cries of the people? 3 of them are talking about how they were mishandled, Rukunjiri and somebody from Natete here. What do you make of that? And that if we get about 7 calls or 6 and 3 are telling you, I've had my experience and it's a bad one. Doesn't that show that really in society we have people who have gone through hell?
Number one, when you listen carefully, people who called, and especially the victims, it gives you one issue. That if you are thinking this is a problem with the Baganda, it is not only in Uganda. If you are thinking it is the actually people suffering from torture, it is beyond. If you're thinking that it was Basoga only, it is now across board. And therefore, it calls for everybody, irrespective of where you come from in Uganda, to stand tall and condemn, and this is the right time you should give pressure to your members of parliament who are not fighting this issue of torture because their passion is maybe in DP, or the passion is in NRM, or in NUP, or in FDC, irrespective of where you come from. Our Constitution, Article 24, is clear against torture. We should fight it now. If we don't fight it, we are going down the road.
There is, and I'm saying this with
Emunyankore is calling you.
Sorry?
It is not only Anacholi, Emunyankore is telling you I was tortured. If you give time, somebody will call you from Busoga. And Uganda is calling you. This is a problem that we must all stand up and fight it now.
Maybe even a member of parliament.
Members of parliament.
Numbers will call.
Yes, members of parliament. If it is happening to members of parliament, what about the ordinary Ugandan who is not elected in parliament?
Do you think also...
So this is what I can make from the callers. And you see that irrespective of the party you come from, irrespective from the region you come from, this is an issue that needs to be worked on now.
Do you think members of the security agencies are also facing a challenge that is new, especially now the challenges of acts of terror, and so they do not know how to handle? And I'm saying this because when you see even in developed democracies, they have fallen short in some cases because of the changing nature of criminality.
I think when you're discussing that, it should start at the point of militarizing the police. The training the police people undergo is different from the training the military people undergo. The discipline that is required of a police person is different from the discipline that is required from the military. Then the scale of cases.
I thought all of them should be having a module on human rights.
Yeah, but I think they get it in different perspective. Maybe to a soldier, a death of a person or two is not so much as an issue as it would be, for them maybe they are concerned when death is in big numbers. I remember during the massacre the death that was happening in Masaka.
The Vijambia group.
The Vijambia group. It took time. The Honorable Member of Parliament from Masaka, Dr. Abedi Bwanika, spoke over it over a period of time. He would come again today, this number of people have been killed. Again, the other day, this number of people. So I get this kind of feeling that a soldier would take it as a light case, whereas a police person or somebody who has been under police, training, even a single case of murder, it would, prompt this person to use all the machinery at his disposal to see to it that ends. So I think the torture that we see, most especially that is in the context of plain-clothed people coming, flashing guns, arresting, citizens in these cars called drones. Sometimes they have no number plates. Sometimes they have a number plate that you can see on a different kind of car, several days after that. I think those instances are happening because military is in police.
Okay. Gentlemen, we're coming to the conclusion of our discussion tonight, and I want to give each one of you about a minute to make your concluding arguments on the issue, but also maybe tell Ugandans if you have a sense of hope on where we are headed and how you're going to handle this, beginning with you once again.
Yeah, thank you very much. Do not lose hope. First and foremost, the failure to get the number of signatures that we were required to get casts us into two shades. One shade is that school of thought that the opposition has failed to push its agenda, but that is a minor one. But most importantly, it's the Ugandans who are on the other side, who are, the way they are looking at us. I do believe that now, it's very important, most especially for the leaders in the House, the administration at Parliament, the chief whip, government chief whip, to prevail, because the disappointment is not only with the opposition, because I should confess that I'm personally disappointed that the people I thought would join us didn't join us. The people we see condemning torture in public, those members of Parliament didn't join us. The callers who have made phone calls, I wouldn't be surprised if their members of Parliament didn't even sign. And that's why I say that it would be better if this list is made public, so that there's an audit by the public to see whether your particular member of Parliament signed or didn't sign. But by and large, we should descend to a conversation. We should have a convergence of minds on torture in the perspective that the honorable colleague said. The first round was about parties, but we should have a discussion that excludes the perspective of parties, so that we see to it that torture ends. Okay. Right Honorable Speaker would also like to be the Speaker of the Parliament that worked so hard against torture. The government chief whip would love to be the government chief whip of the Parliament that ended the torture in Uganda. Everybody would have to have a record, would want to participate in the end of torture. So let's not get this challenge amongst ourselves. Let's work together as Parliament before Ugandans, because for sure, when we work together, we shall, we shall win. However, in the opposition, just in case, what you would call Plan B, just in case we fail to get together to fight torture, we have other strategies that we shall bring on board. As had earlier on spoken, we have able people. The leader of opposition is very good at guiding us. We have very well-learned lawyers who sit and actually come up with better plans.
All right.
So have faith. Don't lose faith. Have faith. Torture will end.
Honorable Akol, your parting shot.
Those who are in uniform, or you are doing the security work without uniform, whether you torture somebody now, at the end of the day, you're also going to die. But what legacy are you leaving with your children? What kind of life do you want your children to live in future? What if it happens to your child? What if it happens to your brother? How do you feel? What if it happens to your father? How do you feel? I think that's a question I leave for those who are engaged in torture. Think about if it happens to you, how do you feel? The pain you are inflicting, you are putting on somebody else. What about if it is on you? What if it is on your brother, on your sister, on your child, on your father? How do you feel? That's something very important that I appeal to those who are there. Secondly, I still think, and I want to talk to Ugandans, to trust the institution of Parliament of Uganda. We still have a long way to go. It is the beginning of it. I wish we work together, and I actually would like to request those who are sitting on both sides of the House, when it comes to issues that affect the citizens of Uganda, you should leave the parties apart. That we are NRM, so this is our position. We are opposition, this is our position. It will not help us. Let members of Parliament come to Parliament with their brain. Don't come and then let things be instilled into you from Parliament of Uganda. That is my position.
Thank you so much, Honorable Anthony Akol. Thank you so much, Dr. Timothy Lusaala. And I want to thank you, the viewer, for your great company. Maybe I should say, Uganda, we're a good country, and I believe we are good people. Those of you wearing the Ugandan uniform, honor that uniform. Because you've gone through a lot to wear that uniform. Some people did not even make through the training. We hope you can always be there to keep the law and order and protect our territorial integrity. We have had our tumultuous past, but I think that should really be in the past. And for those who maybe can do something, because I want to end with these words once more. The only necessary thing for the triumph of evil is for the good men to do nothing. Like Albert Einstein said, the world is a dangerous place, not because of those who do evil, but because of those who look on and do nothing. Do something, Uganda. Good night and God bless Uganda.